Dr. Brian Scott with you today. This is another episode of Insight to the End Times, another podcast. We've been sharing with you over a year now about where we are in God's timetable. And we've been looking at current events, and we've been tying them into the various scriptures in the Bible that tell us that we're getting closer and closer and closer to the end. I really encourage you to go back this week and listen to the earlier podcast this week. We did a review of the timetable and the age, the days that we're living in. And we're looking today, continuing our look at 2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 1. This is a statement made by the Apostle Paul, who wrote most of the letters of the New Testament. He's writing to his young pastor friend Timothy, who's taken over the church in Ephesus, one of the first New Testament churches. And he's writing Timothy to encourage him and also to warn him. And he says to him, "Know this, Timothy, in the last days, perilous times will come." Well, we've examined what it means, what last days means, and we've been examining what perilous times mean. Now we're looking at some illustrations of the peril that we're living in today. And I just want to go back for a few minutes and share some personal thoughts with you here. There's been such a change in the societal nature of life in our culture. Things have changed so dramatically and drastically. And I'm speaking from a North American perspective, which may not be applicable all around the world. I realize that. But at least here in North America, there's some substance to this. I went to school during the 60s. And I mean public, the elementary school, secondary school. Then I went to university in the 1970s. I spent from 1970 to 1979 in university, obtaining two professional degrees, one in business administration, the other one in law. I practiced law for a lot of years, and then we've been involved in ministry and end time studies for a lot of years as well. But I can remember that I was in business school, and one of the things that came out over the first Christmas of my 2-year degree in business was a calculator, a portable calculator, battery powered, charged with a battery. You had to have a second briefcase, if you know what a briefcase is, just to carry your calculator to class. And it was so powerful. It added, subtracted, divided, and multiplied. That was it. But boy, we thought we were the cream of the crop with that in the early 1970s. Then it wasn't long after that. I was still in business school, and I took my first computer science course. And what we did in that computer science course is we'd go into the computer lab, which was an air-conditioned room with this massive computer. They called it a mainframe. And we had roughly 8.5 wide by 4-inch high computer cards. And we would put them into this machine, and we would type in our code, and it would punch holes in these cards, and we'd accumulate the cards in a batch, and we'd take a batch like that in, put it into the computer reader, and it would print out 2 or 3 lines or 2 or 3 pages, however many we had punched, of code for us, of content. And that was our first computer, and we thought we were pretty sharp dudes. Look where we are today. You have a smartphone, more than likely, that is more powerful than the computers that sent the men to the moon years ago. You have a smartwatch that can do more things than the first computers could do that were contained in massive buildings. We're living in a time of massive change, and it's just getting bigger and stronger and more advanced in every respect. Artificial intelligence is taking over everywhere. Machine learning is taking over everywhere. And now there are several other new phases of this which are absolutely going to replace the need for a human being and the brain of a human being in so many of these instances. So much has occurred. Much has occurred in the last number of years. Has it been all for the good? A great deal of it has been, but not all of it. I can remember, and when you had a sickness and you had to go to the hospital and you had to have an operation, the only way they could do that was to open you up. And so you might have an incision that was 4 or 5, 6 inches in length for even a minor operation. Now they can do it all through a little tiny hole. They can do it with robots. They have so much power in the operating suite through computers. They have so much power in the business suites with computers. Everything is just wonderful in that respect. But Paul said, know this, in the last days that we're living in right now, you're going to see a lot of perilous times. And perilous times means these are days of danger and risk and hurt and vicious, fierce, unruly, unpredictable, uncontrollable harm coming your way. So what am I speaking of? The words were all contained in locations, but today we have randomness everywhere. We are having issues where the city of Toronto, which is not all that far from me, about an hour and a half, it's a city of millions. It's becoming quite a city worldwide world-class city. But in the last 3 years, because of the pandemic time frame, the random attacks have become just beyond comprehension. Just beyond comprehension. People are being mowed down on the streets by kids or young drivers who are either on drugs or they got a mental issue or some other situation, and they just drive into a whole group of people. They slaughter people on the street who are on street corners. They attack people in the subway stations and knife them. A swarm of teenage girls who didn't even know each other until they all gathered together back months ago in Toronto, swarmed a man, a homeless man, down near the Union Station, the main train station in Toronto, and they killed him. No reason, just for something to do. We're seeing police officers in our province of Ontario. We're seeing police officers being shot down with more numbers than we've seen in a long, long time. The point I'm making is this. Perilous times are now occurring everywhere, not just in a war zone. And it's becoming almost unsafe to be outside at night or to be wandering at night, out for an evening stroll. It's becoming a real issue. And it's becoming a real issue in small town Ontario as well as the big cities. And we're, in comparison to a lot of American cities, we're pretty safe still. But we're not anywhere close to where we used to be. Why? Because these are perilous times. These are last days. We're getting closer and closer. You cannot bury your head in the sand, as the old saying goes, and not realize that things are out of control. And they're all prophesied by the scriptures, and they're all signs of the very end. I'll wrap up tomorrow with you. Got some good stuff for you. Are you blessed? Amen.